Part 34. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 331. Chapter 331 Song Shang gets married. MRSG expressed her attitude and said, "You mother and daughter can discuss it on your own." Just left. She will send her mother-in-law to receive her from now on, but she will not come again. No matter how worried Dulu was, after a few days, it was the day when Song Shang got married. Although the Song family has a large population, most of them live in their hometown, and Mrs. Song cannot feel close to them in her heart. Therefore, it was reasonable to hold the wedding a year ago and not invite them to watch the ceremony. Song Shang is getting married for the second time, and the Yao family is not picky, so they don't plan to make a big deal about it. There were several banquet tables set up in the courtyard of the Song family, and all the women ate here. For the other male guests, the table was still laid out in a pleasant way. Wen Yu was happy in her heart and said to MRSG on the way, "It seems that what my cousin said is true. Our relationship has been put to great use in this restaurant. We have reserved it several times. He himself has treated guests countless times. This it's even more self-defeating." MRSG said, "It was originally meant for you to play with. Whether you make money or not, happiness is the most important thing." Chi Wu was dressed in brocade and riding beside him. He was listening to his mother and wife talking in the car. He didn't know what they were saying, but they were probably very happy. He couldn't help but smile, with happiness on his face. Along the way, I don't know how many men and women were fascinated by his charm. The Song family's house was decorated with lanterns and colorful decorations and was very lively. When you got out of the car and met the Wen family at the door, they were all jeweled, saluting, and joking. Song Tao greeted the guests at the gate. He was dressed particularly festive today and shouted loudly, "Auntie, you have to go in. The street is blocked." Mrs. Wen smiled when she saw him. "Song Tao, look at your gorgeous clothes and festive face. I don't know, I thought you were the groom's boy." "Auntie, just make fun of me. We, the Song family, don't have many relatives in the capital. Can't I help with the arrangements?" As soon as she entered the door, she saw Mrs. Song wearing heavy makeup, a wig, and luxurious clothes, which was completely different from the past. "She looks a bit like a lady." But the smile remained the same. "Aunt, come in quickly." When Yu exclaimed in surprise, "Oh my God, who is this noble lady?" he pulled her up and praised her from head to toe for a long time. Mrs. Song smiled brightly, "Girl, your little mouth looks like it has been smeared with honey. You are not afraid of your mother-in-law's jokes." In the hall, there is a red curtain with happy words on it. With flowers. Several elders sat down to talk, and Mr. Guan stood behind Mrs. Wen to wait on her. Several girls gathered together to talk. "Where's Wen Xiao? She and Wen Wan went to the princess's house yesterday and wanted to come with her." Wen Su said coldly, "You don't know. These few times when she went out, she opened her mouth and said mother and closed her mouth mother short. At first I was shocked when I heard it." When Yu smiled secretly, "If you have milk, you are a mother." Just as he was talking, Wen Feng and the princess arrived. Two people standing side by side would definitely be very unpleasant to an old school person if they saw them. Wen Jiao and Wen Wan followed closely as expected. Seeing everyone, they were very reserved. Everyone was polite for a while, and Wen Feng went to talk to Song Tao. The princess said hello to Mrs. Guan and sat next to Mrs. Wen. When he saw Wen Yu, he waved, "Wen Yu, come here." "Second aunt," Wen Yu smiled. The princess said angrily, "You have moved your people away and you won't go to play at home. Aren't you afraid of disturbing the princess wedding?" Poor talk, the princess's cheeks turned a little red. "Is General Duanmu here?" He went directly to the restaurant. He also called a group of friends to have fun there. "Come to my place to have fun during the Chinese New Year." Wen Jiao and Wen Wan stood behind the princess. At this moment, Wen Jiao was as proud as the sun and spoke with a slow accent, "Sister, this time, I want to help my mother. What do you like to play? You can tell me in advance." He looked like a master. Wen Yu smiled secretly, all the advantages in her grandmother were concentrated in her. After a while, Mrs. Zhang's family also arrived. Old Mrs. Wen seized the opportunity, pulled Wen Yu aside and muttered, "The princess is good, but it's really." It turned out that the princess was different from ordinary daughters-in-law, and she didn't behave like a servant. In the past, Mrs. Yun was arrogant and fond of taking charge, but she had to be careful in front of herself. And this princess is just being polite. People and things at home don't reach out either. But if she doesn't reach out, who will? As an old lady, I can't go back and do this. Now, it's Guan who is busy. Mrs. Wen was seriously dissatisfied. "Grandma, you can't think so. If you marry a princess, let alone serve you, you will have to kneel down. Sugar cane is not as sweet as both ends. You always think like this. If things go wrong, the princess is not a good person. Temper." Old Mrs. Wen didn't like to hear it. Just when she was about to say a few words with a straight face, the princess looked over and a smile immediately appeared on her face. She was so tired. "Ayu, Zuzu came. Ever since Wen Yu was reborn, Zuzu has been wearing something similar to hers. Even sometimes, Wen Yu dresses plainly, but likes to make Zuzu look delicate. Especially after Yungxiang opens its doors, Zuzu will be the living signboard of the store. However, that cannot be compared with her now. Miss Wen Shizu, the dress she just put on today is made of 10,000 down material. When weaving, the fine down of birds is also woven into it. The weaving method is complicated and requires a lot of effort. The fabric of such a piece of clothing could not be woven in a year. It is no exaggeration to say that every inch of material is valuable. When Zuzu puts it on, she looks plush and adorable. "Oh my God, Zuzu, what are you wearing?" When you really didn't recognize it. But she knew that Zuzu was secretly making clothes without telling her a few days ago. She also told the embroiderer that she would not let her know and wanted to give her a surprise. Zuzu had a sullen face and wanted to pretend, these are just ordinary clothes. But she couldn't hold back, she raised her eyebrows, pursed her lips, and smiled proudly. The princess knew the goods after all, but she also said, "Oh my God, Zuzu, what you are wearing is so expensive." Several people were surrounding her. Wen Jiao was envious and jealous. When you asked the key question, "Will it shed hair?" Wen Shizu nodded, "A little bit." "Is it expensive?" When you touched it carefully. "I don't know, Gu you brought it, 2 pieces. I left 1 piece for you, but, I want to wear it first before you." After saying that, she smiled. "Did your father see it?" "What did he say?" When you was curious. "I saw it," Dad said, "the fabric is very meaningless and doesn't look very good. Even if I wear it, I can still see it, but it still sheds hair." When you grinned and looked at Hu Fei, who was looking at his fiancée intently. There is really no reason for the fate between people. Probably they owed each other in the previous life, right? While the arriving female guests were looking at the beaded skirt, the bride entered the door. The couple bowed lively and sent the newlyweds into the bridal chamber. Lifting the hijab, the bride Yaruotong is dressed in a full dress. Her eyes are black and white, and she is extremely beautiful. Song Shang knew that this was his wife, the one who would accompany him for the rest of his life. Although he did not feel the love and pain of tugging at her, he was willing to respect her from the bottom of his heart and not go down the old path of marriage. So, I asked her in a low voice if she was tired or thirsty, with a gentle attitude. Before he could say a few words, Taejun sent someone. The comer was the handsome little who always followed him. It seemed that he was still a steward, and his clothes were much more gorgeous than those of the other eunuchs. The little kid walked at the front in a grand manner, when you looked very funny. The people following behind were each holding a box with a jade rouille placed on the velvet cushion. What I like most is the small table screen embroidered on both sides, which is said to be given to the concubine. Song Shang and Mrs. Song were so excited that they even helped the bride out and bowed to receive the blessing. Everyone should follow suit. Then, it goes without saying that when the big gift package was delivered, Song Shang also had to talk to him politely. Then, a large group of people had to send it out politely, when you muttered to Zuzu, "Do you know how much silver this rouille is worth?" "Where does Zuzu know?" Opening his eyes, he asked, "Is it expensive?" "Hey, surprisingly expensive." Song Shihan was sitting in her room. She was wearing a very light green skirt, with a green satin rope on her head and pigtails. Her mouth was slightly pursed, staring at the window with eyes filled with hatred that was not possible for her age, and listening. The hustle and bustle outside. She knew that the bride had entered the house. "My mother's body is still cold, and he is holding weddings here. I really want to kill them all with a handful of poison," she said bitterly. Beside her stood her mother's maid, Zhaidu, who was already married, and the couple were the most powerful people around her. "I only hear the new people laughing, but not the old people crying. Most people in the world are like this," Ji Niang said. Mrs. Song has already told Song Shihan that if she feels uncomfortable today, she should not go. The original intention was for Song Shihan's sake, but she misinterpreted it to mean that with the new man, she would have the grandson that her grandmother longed for, and her granddaughter would become redundant. Moreover, there was something she hated so much these days. Webster had a cousin in the capital, and he was responsible for her funeral. "I bought a cemetery and buried it." That day, Ji Niang and his wife went to Wei's courtyard again, only to find that the place was already occupied by someone from the cousin's family. All of Wei Xianjiu's decent things have disappeared. When Ji Niang and his wife asked about the things in the house, the family said that the things had been sealed up and were waiting for Wei's brother and sister-in-law to come and dispose of them. When he asked them why they were living here, the man rolled his eyes and said that the Wei family's aunt was dead and had no children, and all the property belonged to the Wei family. How to deal with it has nothing to do with the Song family. Song Shihan almost died of anger when Ji Niang came back and said that her mother was dead. The Wei family did not ask the reason or avenge her mother, but only wanted her property. At that time, I wanted to rush over and burn the yard with fire, burning them all together. I understand what Uncle Tao said to me, but what should I do? People have already entered the house. In the past, Ji Niang dared to say a few words, but now, there is no one behind the girl, and the Wei family doesn't care at all. If not, wait until your uncle comes and discuss it with him. He's here to rob things too. I updated it again. Is it surprising? In fact, the meaning of asking for leave is also the idea after thinking about it. End of this chapter. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 332. Chapter 332, A Mistake. After seeing off the grandson, Song Shang will take the male guests to the restaurant. In the crowd, Hu Fei was seen telling Zuzu, "Don't leave alone, I will come back to pick you up later." The same words were said by Chi Wu to Wen Yu, but what he said was, "Come to pick up you." Wen Feng and the princess looked at each other and smiled, then turned and left gracefully. Everyone saw it with mixed feelings. Old Mrs. Wen kept sighing, "How come these two girls have such a good life?" Before the banquet started, the little girls crowded into the new house to see the bride. Wen Yu didn't see Song Shihan in the crowd, so he asked Madame Su who was doing business. "Where's the big girl?" Mrs. Su whispered. The old lady said that if she feels unhappy on a day like today, she doesn't have to come out. Then she's not angry, when you knew her too well. Mrsu smiled bitterly and said nothing. The bride has just entered the house, and there are still many things that she can't deal with. Your old lady is kind-hearted and is especially kind to the older girl. If anything happens during this period, you have to help me. Yes. I have already given instructions. Madame Su knew her father's feelings for Wen Yu. Seeing Wen Yu not being able to be with him today, she also felt sorry for him. On Wei's side, her cousin in Beijing has taken over the yard and collected all the good things that could be moved in the house. She is waiting for her brother to come to Beijing to share the accounts. It seems that her property will be swallowed up by the Wei family. He didn't care about the eldest daughter at all. It shows that the family is really cold-hearted. The eldest daughter is even more unhappy when she knows about it. How many people will care about the feelings of flesh and blood? Let her go. However, the old lady's biggest wish is to have grandchildren, so she must be more careful in this regard. Yes. I have been a steward for many years, so I know it. How is your Erlang? Madame Su became worried. I found a job for him, and married him a wife before he left. But now, he is no longer an official, and he has left his wife at home. He has gone to live outside. Day by day, either drink or run out for who knows what. The fifth master lent him money and asked him to do things. We came up with many ideas, but he was too small and refused to do them. He probably spent all the money. I told him, he said to leave him alone for now. I don't know why, but he became like this. Ms. Su, you have 2 sons and grandsons. As the saying goes, children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. Do what you should do. Don't do what you shouldn't do. Things that will drag the elder man down. Although Mrsu's eyes were red, her expression was very determined. When their father died, I had not yet stood up. During those days, although there was no shortage of money, I was worried that I didn't know when my life would be gone. Later, the fifth master had the ability and took over the Song family, and he treated us very well. Actually, I told you that I have quietly bought a house and land outside. If you are not willing to work with me, you can still live a prosperous life if you retire. Dallin works steadily and is respected by his father. Only Erlang, no matter what you say, it won't work. You are right, no matter what, we cannot let him drag us down. You don't have to be too sad. Where is your husband? I heard that my grandson has started to study. When the time comes, I will take the imperial examination and get a jinchi for you. That will be a glorious family. 100 years later, when I meet your husband underground, I can be proud of myself. Oh, if I can come back as a scholar, I can laugh even in my dreams. The Song family's property has been managed well, and my cousin has gained a title. His grandson values him, and he has married a good girl. He will have a fat boy next year. If you, mother and son, follow him, you will only get higher and higher. So, cherish the good days. Mrsu nodded solemnly. Li Kun's people also went to Song Shang's banquet. After it was over, he received the news. The grandson gave gifts and there were so many guests. And if you look closely, it's the rope of Wen Yu that has been threaded through so many relationships. It's not a good idea. He looked at the list and savored it carefully. I just don't know, what is the relationship between Chi Wu and Te Jun? They are not close to each other on the surface. That time we played polo together was probably the first time we met. What you do after that has nothing to do with it. But last time, they were able to accompany the prince to the hot spring, which was obviously not a good deal. However, it would not be an exaggeration to say that the relationship between the concubine and Wen Yu brought them closer. After all, if a Wen Yu from a small family married into the Qi family, anyone who could get her would have to be a backer to be able to stand on her own feet. She stood upright in front of Li Daniu and dared to anger her, just because of this. Mr. Mo. This hard and slippery bone has also gone? There is also Wenruoking. The things that came out of the East Palace recently were all made by him, right? Mr. Zhang, although his official position is not that big, he has a lot of classmates and alumni, and he has a dense network of people who make friends with each other. This person is very annoying. How did he get into Beijing? Why didn't Mr. Hege respond? You don't know if you look closely, but if you take a closer look, if these people all become grandsons, that would be very bad. Frowning his brows, the key is Qi Wu. He knew that the king of Wu had already found someone to contact Qi Ho, but the old fox was chatting and laughing, neither evading nor accepting the offer. He will pretend to be stupid, but it doesn't matter. When Qi Yuduan comes back, everything will be settled. As long as he accepts the title, I can kill him through Li Daniu. Haha, he didn't tell King Wu about this. He always had to keep a secret to show that he was capable, right? Dong Gong has been too steady recently, so this is not possible. Song Shang came back slightly drunk, and Yao Ruotong had already taken off his bride's attire. The two faced each other, and Song Shang drank another drink, forcing those past events and people out of his mind. Ruotong, I don't care about anything when I do things. I am a bit picky and boring, not very good. But I will try my best to treat you as my wife. If Ruotong marries you, he will be filial to his mother-in-law, respect his husband, and treat Chi-Han well. If you are busy outside, Ruotong will take care of your home. Song Shang was very satisfied with this answer. A night of red candles. The next morning, the beautiful first-time wife Yao Ruotong came out with Song Shang to recognize her relatives. What's funny is that the Wen family is here again. Not many people recognized their relatives at first, but the whole Wen family was stunned. Today, Song Shihan showed up. There was no expression on his face. He followed the rules and saluted strictly. Kowtow and call mother. I accepted the flower and dragonfly purse made by Yao Ruotong. He stood back and watched everyone's laughter calmly. Old Mrs. Wen and Wen Jiao have both been contradicted by Song Shihan, so they are not very willing to provoke her. And when you couldn't help but secretly admire that this little girl really had her own way. When I was her age, I couldn't understand anything and my memory was still poor. I pushed a rock at Erlang of the Song family and almost killed him, but I can't even remember the result. Yao Ruotong was reminded by Wen Yu that when facing Song Shihan, he was gentle and generous, but he did not deliberately get close to him to please him. In this way, it was all right, and Mrs. Song found it very pleasing to her. This kind of relationship between stepmother and stepdaughter was intimate from the very beginning. It was either pretentious or had other agendas. This daughter-in-law is a good choice. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 333. Chapter 333, Don't Believe It All. Just after Song Shang's wedding, the Qi family suddenly got good news: Zhang Weiqing was pregnant. Qi Si has been busy with things in his hometown and has been back for less than a month. On this day, Zhang Mocking was having breakfast in the house. Suddenly he felt terribly sick and kept vomiting. He called the doctor and found out that he was pregnant. It is so easy to get it, which can be regarded as the result of Aunt Liu's unremitting efforts. When you heard that her friend was asking for a doctor early in the morning, she was worried about it and ran outside Zhang Mocking's yard to hear the news. When the girl saw the doctor out, she winked at her. I understood immediately and quickly came in to congratulate him. Congratulations, this is really good news. Zhang Mocking sat on the couch next to the window, his face red. At this moment, she did not have the worry and shock of her first pregnancy, but felt a little relaxed. Aunt Liu's ubiquitous pressure was relieved. When you understood, sat next to her and smiled, is Aunt Lu happy now? Ba. It's true. Zhang Mocking breathed a sigh of relief. Ayu, you don't know. Other mothers-in-law are making fun of their daughter-in-law and saying weird things when they think her daughter-in-law is not pregnant. But ours is caring day and night, without any blind spots. I prayed to the Buddha, burned incense and made soup, and was told to wear warm clothes every day and not eat ice. She blushed. It made me feel unspeakable. At this moment, I feel that this matter has nothing to do with me. It doesn't matter, it's all for her. When you said with a serious face, don't pay attention to her. There is a serious mother-in-law here, so she has to lean back. Just as he was talking, Aunt Lu arrived after hearing the news. She made a fuss before she even entered the door. Is fourth grandma in the house? I heard a message. Zhang Mocking smiled helplessly. It seemed that Aunt Lu also had people in her yard. Aunt Lu appeared with a grin on her face. She seemed surprised when she saw Wen Yu was there. Oh, it turns out, the fifth grandma is here too. The eyes and eyebrows were flying wildly, as if he was surprised, and a little concerned. The unspoken meaning was, pregnancy is a delicate and sensitive matter between sisters-in-law. There is someone here who is just pregnant. What do you think? Don't you know how to avoid suspicion? Wen Yu and Zhang Mocking could see these words on her face. The two of them are so angry and funny. Zhang Mocking had evil thoughts. He protected his stomach with one hand and looked at Wen Yu warily. Fifth younger brother and sister, my aunt is here. I'll talk to her, you. Wen Yu blinked at her, and gently moved his hand over to caress her belly. Zhang Mocking looked nervous. Don't come over here. Aunt Lu stepped in between the two of them decisively like lightning. Oh, fifth grandma, at this time, I can't touch it, I can't touch it. When you didn't touch it after all, he stood up with some regret. Oh, okay then. Then you take good care of it, I'll go back first. Aunt Lu breathed a sigh of relief. You walk slowly. When she is stable, you can come and play with her again. When you took a few steps outside, then turned back and said, huh? Aunt Lu, fourth sister-in-law, according to the rules, shouldn't Madam add someone to fourth sister-in-law's house? Zhang Mocking was suddenly shocked by her words of tiger and wolf. His body trembled and his eyes turned red. Aunt Lu was annoyed when she saw it. Fifth grandma, you said this too. It's across the room. Oh, you have the nerve to. Fourth sister-in-law and I are not outsiders. Isn't this for the sake of fourth sister-in-law? Ask her what kind of people she gets along with easily. I will go to Madam's place now and remind Madam to keep it in mind so that we can make arrangements quickly. Zhang Mocking moved again and almost shed tears. You. Aunt Lu became even more anxious. Fifth grandma. Look what you are talking about. Aren't you good sisters? Why do you say these things to make her anxious at this time? She said warmly, as if her anxiety was my purpose. Don't be anxious, I'm young and ignorant. I don't know where I've ever heard such a sentence. Aunt Lu turned to look at Zhang Mocking, who looked sad, and said quickly, there is such a saying, but it can't be said to be a rule. It was all negotiated by the young couple. Even the wife must respect them. Meaning. But no matter what, the most important thing is the son in your belly. Son, Zhang Mocking discovered distressingly, new pressure has come again. Life is hard. When you didn't even hear it, he nodded and said, that's right, then I'll go and tell the madam. Don't make any arrangements yet. Wait until the fourth brother and the fourth sister-in-law have an idea, and then mention it to the madam. Zhang Mocking nodded quickly. Ayu, I'm sorry to bother you. I'll go and say hello to madam when I feel more at ease. Okay, when you said beautifully and left. Aunt Lu looked at Zhang Mocking and said, these days are the most important. Don't be careless. Don't go out. Just send a girl to tell your mother, but outsiders can't tell. From now on, you the girls in the yard cheered up and couldn't touch anything they hadn't eaten. Zhang Mocking listened and nodded slightly, still feeling a little proud. I got it so quickly. Aren't I quite capable? After Aunt Lu had said enough, she added cautiously, Auntie knows that you and fifth grandma are close friends. But, you have to pay attention too. As the old saying goes, you must be on guard against others. No matter how good the relationship is, it will affect future generations, you can't trust her completely. Just talk to her on weekdays and don't accept anything from her, especially, it's from the entrance. Her expression was mysterious and her eyes were shining. Zhang Mocking knew who she was and didn't tell her apart. He just nodded. Aunt Lu was relieved to see that she was obedient. While he was verbose, his thoughts were flying far away. If the Su family was pregnant with a daughter, then her son would have a chance to give birth to the eldest grandson of the Chi family. I couldn't help but laugh wildly in my heart. It was really a blessing from God. Although I have never received the general's love in my life, I just got along. But the great eldest grandson of the Chi family came from, that was different. Chi Yu came home after finishing his work and heard that a doctor had been invited in his courtyard. He hurried back to his house and heard such good news. He is usually a very smart person with a big grin on his face. Aunt Lu gave instructions for a long time, and even called Chi Si out to explain the affairs between the couple again. As I was about to go back to the courtyard, I suddenly thought, oh, I have two girls in my courtyard to give to my son. My natal family also has a good cousin. Why just now did I block the road myself? Hearing the laughter of his son and Zhang Mocking in the room, he stood there thinking for a while before reluctantly leaving. After a while, my son will know how powerful it is. Then, I will mention it again. Even though there was no deliberate publicity, the news spread quickly as if it had wings. The Tan family was the first to know. She smiled, oh my God. This is a great thing. Go and open my warehouse quickly. I remember that Mr. Ho just got back 2 boxes of blood swallows and gave them to the fourth wife. Tell her not to go out. You don't have to run and I'm dangling in front of you. Everything will be done after 3 months of pregnancy. I won't disturb her yet. Let her take good care of herself for now, and don't let outsiders see her for now. Amitabha, you really need to burn incense in the temple. After the girl listened to her instructions, she took the blood swallow and went out. When there was no one in the room, Ms. Tan leaned over there and cursed bitterly, Ms. Zhu, this is useless. What do you do for food? How long has it been and you still can't get pregnant? You are getting more and more arrogant day by day. As a result, when you can't handle it, and she can't even conceive a child. Mrs. Liu's vision is so bad that I'm so polite to them. You are sitting here thinking about it, and the more you think about it, the more unhappy you become. Mrs. Su also heard the news. Although this was not surprising, she couldn't help but feel upset. The circles under his eyes turned red again. Grandma, another girl came in and said, the old lady sent 2 boxes of blood swallows. When you came out of the fourth grandmother's house and went directly to find the madam. After hearing about it, the madam didn't go there either. Let Kui beside him. Grandma gave me a set of Kuazu flour head noodles, and she also took some banknotes. She said, I don't know what she wants to eat, so she can buy it herself with the money. After hearing this, Mrs. Su became even more angry, give me back the money. At that time, I only gave it to the richest man. A concubine's wife is more important than an eldest son's wife. There is no one in the world who is more stupid than her. How much injustice I suffered by marrying him. As of now, I am no longer in charge of my family. He also traveled far away, and he didn't know when he would come back. Bauer is a little heartless person who goes to Kui's house to enjoy the blessings and never comes back easily. My grandmother is distant from me, my mother-in-law doesn't love me, and my sister-in-law still laughs at me. I. She covered her face and cried. The girls in the house are also very helpless. Girls used to be competitive, but now why are they so easily angry and crying when they don't get in touch? The clever nanny quickly advised, Grandma. In today's day, you can also tell whether it is a boy or a girl. Tell your sister-in-law and ask her to bring the doctor quickly. Su Minghui stopped crying for a moment. Really, how could I forget it? Go home and tell your sister-in-law to ask the doctor to come. Just as the girl was about to leave, Su Minghui called out again, wait, after thinking for a while, bring her 2 jars of the good Osmanthus honey. There are also the odds and ends that the family brought from Wen Yu's shop. Bring it to her. There's no way she can control that short-sighted thing. Just like that, her sister-in-law came with the doctor the next morning. The old doctor took his pulse seriously. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 334. Chapter 334, Sharpening the Knife. Not long after the number was called, the old doctor said with a smile on his face, Congratulations, madam, it's a boy. Su Minghui was stunned for a moment and couldn't react for a long time. The eldest sister-in-law of the Su family quickly said, Minghui, you are stupid. Thank the doctor quickly. She just came to her senses, her eyes turned red, and she choked with sobs and said, I'm so excited. Doctor, are you right? The old doctor smiled and said, I have been practicing medicine for many years. If the number of this month is wrong again, then I really should go to the countryside to farm. Great, great. Hurry, there will be a big reward. The girl next to me handed over a heavy purse. The sister-in-law of the Su family looked at it with a smile on her lips. This is great. The old doctor took it and thanked him. Then he said, it's just that your pregnancy appearance is not good. You need to pay attention. Huh, Su Minghui was startled. How come? I can't say the reason yet, I just feel that your bile fire is strong, the stomach meridian and lung meridian are weak, the liver blood and uterine blood are insufficient, the kidney qi is also deficient. The doctor also found something wrong last time, but that kind of problem cannot be determined whether it is his own problem or whether it is caused by external forces. There are a lot of secret things going on in the mansion, so even if you are sure, you can't say too much, let alone things that are unsubstantiated. Anyway, you have to take good care of yourself. What kind of medicine should I take to treat it? The sister-in-law and sister-in-law were frightened when they heard that the doctor said it was so serious. In my opinion, you don't need to take any medicine now. The main thing is to be open-minded and think more about happy things. You don't need to be too careful with your food. You can go to the suburbs of Beijing to find some hot spring vegetables, and then add some eggs, meat and whole grains. More eat yams, walnuts, etc. If you have these, it's good. Don't touch those medicinal herbs, especially ginseng and antler. If you can't eat them, don't eat them in the yard. It shouldn't be a big problem if you keep your energy up. You'd better prescribe some medicine. Su Minghui refused to give up. It's a medicine that's 3 parts poisonous. It's not easy to cure all the symptoms at once. I think it's better to take care of yourself as mentioned above. If you don't have any special discomfort, wait for half a month and I'll come back and take a look. If it still doesn't work, then take the medicine. Su Minghui was a little hesitant, but seeing the doctor's firm attitude, she didn't say anything more. After the doctor left, my sister-in-law looked at each other and smiled. Now, I feel proud. Huh. Let them see, the Qi family has to look at me. Su Minghui was proud. Sister-in-law Su was very happy, that's right. As soon as I came, I heard that Qi Si's family has a son, but what does it matter? The son of a concubine, well, it's not his turn. Exactly, however, My mother-in-law is really out of touch. I heard that she was given jewelry and even silver. Humph. When you give birth to her, you won't let her see it, keep away from her, and make her angry. Sister, I think you'd better not tell anyone else about your news. Why? Su Minghui was thinking about how to make a brilliant debut and suppress the news of Zhang Moking's pregnancy. One is that the family situation is complicated. Even your mother-in-law may not care much about this grandson, let alone others. Su Minghui didn't like to hear it, although I don't care about her curiosity. It can't be what you said. After all, he is a grandson. Who can not care about her? Just listen to me. When you used Qi Xiao to pinch her, wasn't it great? If Qi Xiao hadn't listened to someone's instigation later, she would still be suffering. Humph, Su Minghui snorted. That's why it's so shocking to have the eldest grandson born unexpectedly. Moreover, even if the old lady is nice to you, she still has a grandson. She must hope that, Zhu, give birth to the eldest great-grandson of the Qi family. Again. I love you Qi Xiao, but he has to wait behind Qi Yu. Su Minghui thought for a while. You are right. But, after all, we are also the eldest son and grandson of the eldest son. That's what I say, but what if someone has bad intentions? Knowing that you are a male fetus will harm you, who dares? Not even, Su Minghui said. Think about it, don't tell me how to do it first. No one in this family has ever had such a bad idea. How can this be said? Well, granddaughter-in-law entered the house one by one. Is Wen Yu easy to offend? Besides, if nothing else, the Marquis does not have any concubines, but he only has a concubine who never goes home. Aren't those concubines capable of giving birth? She clearly pointed out that the old lady had done something to her. When you said that, I felt so panicked. Su Minghui felt like a child holding a gold ingot in a busy city. Don't panic. As for you, keep a low profile and pretend not to know that something like this is happening. Then, be careful in all aspects. When you are about to give birth, I will bring 2 midwives to sit in person and keep an eye on the whole process. Something will happen. Sister-in-law. Su Minghui was a little excited. At the critical moment, it has to be your own family. Isn't that true? I sincerely hope you are well. When you give birth to a son, you will be tough in the Qi family, so that I can help your brother. This is true. Su Minghui has a son, and everything goes well, and she is much more pleasing to her sister-in-law than in the past. My brother-in-law and I have a relationship of helping each other. What you said makes sense. They think that I have a flamboyant temper. If it were a son, he would definitely fill the whole hospital with shouts. They all knew it. This time, I had to hide it. They thought it was another girl, but when the eldest son landed, he blinded them. Aunt and sister-in-law, they laughed at each other. Hence, from this moment on, Mr. Su became extremely low-key. The next day, the 15th day, was the day to pay respects to Mr. Tan. Everyone came except Zhang Moking. When Mrs. Tan looked at Mr. Zhu and Mr. Wang again, she felt displeased. She felt depressed for a long time before she suppressed her anger. Smiling, he told everyone the news about Zhang Moking. The Chinese New Year is almost here, and I got such good news again. I woke up laughing several times last night. The third family, and the 5th daughter-in-law, are watching now. You too. She scolded, half seriously, half jokingly. Zhu blushed and felt a little embarrassed. And Wen Yu was also a little embarrassed, lowering his head and saying nothing. Today, Mr. Su was unusually silent and stayed quietly. But her shining eyes and the corners of her mouth that were always suppressed still revealed a small corner of the joy in her heart. Of course, this will not be hidden from Tan and Wen Yu. After everyone retreated, she is pregnant with a son, Mrs. Tan said to herself. If she hadn't pretended to be a charitable old lady all the time, the cup in her hand would have flown out. Why is there no good news lately? According to her previous plan, she didn't care about this matter at all, and it had little to do with her plan. But now, this level is the same. Furthermore, if Su Minghui comes out and is successful, she will also be able to understand the development of the situation. But this keeps silent. What is she going to do? It seems that her delivery day was before that incident. Awkward, so awkward. She is pregnant with a boy when you also murmured to MRSG on the way back. MRSG felt ashamed that she was not too happy. People say they love the house as much as the bird. I am resentful of my daughter-in-law and my grandson. I can't even say I am happy. After she has a son, what kind of education will she have? But I want to take it away and take care of it myself. Then I'm no longer the same as Mr. Tan. Why do you think so much? Brother has understood a lot recently. He will also have the responsibility to take care of his son in the future. Besides, like Duanmu, I can become successful in the military. Why can't we? Now the main thing is yes, Chi Jiajin still can't let go. You girl, MRSG sighed, this is not easy. Do you know? Chi Yuduan is known as, a scholar in the army. A Confucian general. It means a literary talent and strategy. A Confucian general, as the name suggests, he has a very good demeanor. When you didn't take it seriously. He said to himself, he is also the #1 scholar in the army. Cut. What general do you love? If the information is correct, I can even bring down General Jin. Poor Chi Yuduan hasn't come back yet, but Li Kun and Wen Yu are waiting, sharpening their knives. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 335. Chapter 335 Ice and Fire. This evening, Chi Wu came back early to have dinner with Wen Yu. He still didn't say much and only looked at her once. He is very busy these days. He leaves early and comes back late. If he cannot accompany him, Wen Yu will not be allowed to go out. Wen Yu didn't even bother to chat with him. At this moment, she smiled evilly and talked about the conversation between her and Aunt Lu. Let me start by saying that, when Aunt Lu saw that the fourth sister-in-law was angry, she was just afraid that she would be mad. So she quickly explained that it didn't count. The rules are just that some people do this, but no matter what, don't let the fourth sister-in-law get anxious or upset, which will affect the care of the child. The most important thing is the son. Only then did Wen Yu react. How does she know it must be her son? This Aunt Lu. However, she must be too embarrassed to mention it again. What are you talking about? Chi Wu didn't understand yet. Push people into fourth brother's house. When Chi Wu heard that his wife was meddling in his fourth brother's house, he became unhappy and asked Wen, don't worry about it. What do I care about? Xiaoji told me a long time ago that Aunt Lu has 2 girls in her yard, one named Hongxiu and one named Tianxiang. Tisk tisk, look at how they were named, Wen said, the name doesn't seem to have any good intentions. She herself was determined not to care about naming the girl. Usually it is called whatever it was originally called, with no special meaning. She said that she was not allowed to do heavy work on weekdays, for fear of getting her hands rough. She only learned how to serve people closely. To add incense, she actually learned how to make incense. But what is incense making? Aunt Lu, she can't do it herself, let alone a girl. How can she make that thing by just looking for a few recipes? But her intentions are obvious. Chi Wu became very interested when his wife said this, but also a little helpless, so he gave her a piece of duck neck. Before he came back, he went to the store to get it. Wen Shizu loves these the most. After being with her for a long time, his wife also likes them. Also, Aunt Lu has a relative in the capital. She has a niece at home who is 16 years old. I haven't mentioned her yet. Taking the opportunity, Aunt Lu even brought her to her home. She said she gave her a lot of things. Here she comes. Well, it turned out to be the fourth brother, but now the fourth sister-in-law is asking them to get along well. Sima Zai is really annoying. Chi Wu shook his head. Don't frown, you won't encounter this problem, so why bother? So, I'm helping fourth sister-in-law seal her mouth today. It will save her from whining. Humph. Fourth sister-in-law is pregnant, and the most important thing she should do is shut up. She doesn't need to take care of her, in the future, if I get pregnant. Are you really thinking about it? Chi Wu asked, his eyes moving. There is still a girl in the house. When you kicked him. I'm talking, no matter what kind of man, he will be half-hearted. This is nature. Women have been taught since childhood, to be tolerant. But I'm telling you, if you dare to have someone else, don't blame me for being rude. When you bit the duck's neck with a fierce look in his eyes. Look what you are talking about. Chi Wu reached out helplessly and snatched the duck's neck from his mouth. Before we got married, I promised you that there will be no other people in this life. If you talk about other people's things, don't pull it on me. When you relaxed and was satisfied. Next to me, there are 4 girls. Laba and Xiaoji don't have any rules on weekdays, so when you doesn't care about them. Chi Wu brought back 2 packages of duck necks. The 2 of them were eating secretly. Laughing while eating. Xiaoxiang has a standard big girl appearance. When she is not working, she crosses her hands on her belly and stares at her master silently to see if there is anything she needs to do. Qing He felt very uncomfortable after hearing this. When you made it clear before she followed Wen Yu to Qi's house. She will not give them to her husband. If they want to leave in the future, she will let them go. If you want to get married in the house, I will help you find someone who is down to earth and progressive. No matter what, if you serve her faithfully, you will be given a dowry. However, ever since Qing He saw Chi Wu, he couldn't let go. Especially when you enter the Qi family, you can see him every day. The person has been imprinted in her mind like a god, and she cannot get rid of it. Normally, Chi Wu treats himself as a girl. Not even a second glance. She felt bitter, sour, and sweet in her heart. At night, Wen Yu and Chi Wu finished washing and went to bed. Chi Wu briefly told her what happened in the past 2 days. Then he asked her, "Ayu, how about we also have a baby?" Before, Wen Yu didn't really think about getting pregnant now. She was still young and had so many things at home and outside. Once you get pregnant, your whole person becomes a target, and it will be troublesome if you do anything else. So when 2 people are together, they always think of ways. At this moment, she was showing rare tenderness. Go back and ask your mother, if she is not in a hurry, we will wait for a while. We will look at Master Qing's situation and wait for Mu Bo and the others to come back. At least, things at home should be clearer. Otherwise, it would be scary to be pregnant. Chi Wu held her in his arms and thought for a while. I'll listen to you. I just saw fourth brother's silly look and suddenly felt a little envious. The fourth brother and the fourth sister-in-law have similar temperaments, so they should be a good match. What about us? Chi Wu's head moved around Wen Yu's ear and neck, making Wen Yu feel itchy and numb, and he ducked away with a cute smile. Uncle Chen's family moved a few years ago, and the new address is not far from the original yard. Chen Wenhui's yard is next to her parents', and she lives next to her. Although her courtyard is not big, it has a complete kitchen and stove. The 2 little brothers also have their own separate rooms. There is only a wall between the 2 families. In this way, they are both a family and live separately. If you want to be lively, get together. If you want to be quiet, just close the door. As the Chinese New Year approaches, Chen Wenxi's new daughter-in-law is about to enter the family. Having a sister-in-law is different. It is better to be close to each other but at a distance, than to separate after a bad fight. The money at home was definitely not enough. Chen Wenhui took out all his money, Wenyu added some more, and Uncle Chen also wrote an IOU. Wenyu had no choice but to let him go. Fortunately, the yard is neat and tidy. It only needs simple painting and trimming, and a few small additions. Mr. Mo's family renovated the old furniture in the warehouse and brought it here. Now, the home has a presentable appearance. Especially Chen Wenhui's side, with its curtains, cushions, tablecloths, vases, teapots and cups, it was quiet, clean, and a little out of the ordinary, just like a woman's room in a boudoir. She sat in the room by herself, thinking about what she had experienced at her husband's house in those years, feeling emotional and grateful, but she could only smile and no longer shed tears. Wenyu admired Chen Wenhui's eldest cousin very much. After Master Qing was injured, she took on a lot of things in the store. Manage the treasury, settle accounts, collect accounts, manage embroiderers and shop assistants, and distribute commissions to them. Distributing work, recruiting people, etc., just like a shopkeeper. Except for receiving guests and making clothes, he is good at everything else. From now on, when Master Qing recovers from his illness and comes back, he won't have to work as hard as before. Thinking of Master Qing, Wenyu also panicked. The wound was no longer a big problem, but he just couldn't wake up. Lanzhou lived in a safe place, and Li Tan could free up. These days, all the work of Yubai is done by him, pick up and drop off at the store. He is quite smart and has a good manner of doing things. There is a nanny in the East Palace courtyard who knows how to massage. Now I give Master Qing, Yubai, and Lanzhou every day, and my life is stable. Just wait and see when a miracle happens. Du Lu went to Beijing this time and brought some money with him. After thinking about it, he cruelly took away half of the money in Qin Lianyu's hand. I still have a son, so I can't give it all to her. The dowry was not given less at the beginning. It is good for her to enter the door to the door. As a result, I am anxious and silver. What is it called? Qin Lianyu looked at it for a long time and brought some interesting and valuable things. The two people calculated it carefully. Although they could not return the full amount, it is normal that many things have been lost after so many years. You can't spit out all the money you spent. After finishing cleaning up, Du Lu looked at these things with a dejected face. A few days ago, she ran outside the shop Qin Lianyu mentioned and took a look. I don't know if it's because of the end of the year, but it's so popular. She also saw Chi Wu riding a horse and accompanying a carriage. Then he dismounted, walked to the car, and helped the woman above him get out of the car very seriously. That's when you. The two people stood in front of the store, giving Chi Wu a few words in a gentle voice, and Chi Wu just nodded. Finally, he said something again, and Wenyu nodded confusedly and went straight into the store. When Chi Wu saw the store door closed, he turned around, mounted his horse, and walked away. Du Lu hid aside and looked at Chi Wu blankly. He was still handsome, but his youthfulness had faded away, and he became more determined and steady, as dazzling as polished jade. I also saw people on the street staring at his retreating figure blankly. The beauty of Wenyu, the natural way in which she was taken care of by Chi Wu, and even the slight distaste, made Du Liu's heart feel like it was roasted on fire and then thrown into the ice, just tossing back and forth. All of this should originally belong to my daughter. But now, she looked at everything that was still a little messy even though she tried her best to tidy it up. Thinking of my daughter's future. Covering his face, he burst into tears. MRSG didn't come back. She sent Aunt Kui, who was beside her, to come over and take a brief look. She found that there were a few things that had something to say, and she carried them away without thinking too much about anything else. Du Lu is seriously ill. I feel a little emotional when I write this. My neighbor's boy comes from a very good family and he is a very good boy. Married a female classmate from junior high school. To outsiders, he seems unworthy of him. But he is still so nice to girls. As a result, the girl did various things and finally made the unforgivable mistake and got divorced. The girl's mother was very angry when she found out. People, you really need to know how to cherish. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 336. Chapter 336 Slowly weaving the web. In the East Palace, the grandson accompanied the prince out. The staff and officials went off to do their work. There was only the princess in the front study, and she was reading memorials and various reports. The female officer next to her was copying what she had written. The prince has been in good health recently, and he is taking the lead in the affairs of the East Palace. Taejun cooperated, and Taejun took care of minor matters on his own. When a great thing is done, report it to the prince and let him decide. When doing things, there are usually a room full of people, so it doesn't matter if the princess doesn't come. But she still insisted on showing up. Even sometimes, when the prince asked her not to be tired and go back to rest, she would gently refuse. He stayed because he was worried about the prince. But even though he stayed, he could not get his hands on official duties. I can only listen on the sidelines, catching up on the areas she is familiar with, and occasionally interjecting. It was right, and the prince nodded in agreement. A palace maid said softly at the door, "Mother, Dongzhenji wants to see you." "Come in." The princess didn't even raise her head. Dong James came in, holding a wooden box and said, "Mother." The crown princess raised her head and asked, "What's the matter?" "As you know, a few days ago, the emperor gave His Highness the Crown Prince several important matters. Among them were the staff rotation covering the 6 ministries, as well as changes in the salt tax and the migration of people in the Hintao area. These days, His Highness the Crown Prince and His Highness Taejun have been handling this matter. What you are seeing now are also the inspections and reports of some previous officials. The subordinates have read these materials before and have some ideas. This time, it was rearranged according to the emperor's request. These are the ones that have been sorted out. My subordinates have been assisting the Empress for a long time, and they know a little bit about her style of doing things. Therefore, there are many reflections in it, I thought, to provide a reference for the Empress. You see." The Crown Princess was overjoyed, but her expression was dull. "Oh? You are serious about this?" "I have also made some manuscripts for these matters. It's rare that you want to take the lead, so I will take it back and have a look." "Yes. They are all here." Dongzhenji placed the box in front of the Crown Princess. "These should be presented to the Holy Emperor before the end of the year. Generally speaking, the Emperor will take a look at and modify it first during the new year. After the new year begins, take it out, and if there is no accident, handle it accordingly." The Crown Princess nodded, stroking the box with her hand. "The Crown Prince has the first draft. Just now, I was reading some reports, to see if there are any omissions. I should also refer to what you wrote." Dongzhenji smiled and said, "Your Majesty is meticulous in her work. These are just to help you open your mind, nothing else. I will resign." He walked to the gate and looked back. The princess picked up the box he gave her, stood up and walked back. "Is she going back to her own room?" Dong James smiled, changed his clothes again after returning home, and went to the small courtyard. Li Kun was waiting in the room. "How's it going?" "The things have been given to the Crown Princess. She is eager to take them back and look at them. She is obviously tempted." "Well, she will definitely be tempted. I have been preparing for it for a long time. It's just that although I haven't seen the first draft of His Highness the Crown Prince, I should have some intention." The crown princess has only been on the fringes recently, and her opinions may not penetrate. None of these are important. Even if she has ambitions, encourage her and fulfill her goals. Sooner or later, when you can't hold it in any longer, you will do something to make things even better. We can get twice the result with half the effort. You need to pay attention, these things can be done. Yes, if she makes other demands, you have to step back and don't involve yourself. Yes, thank you, sir, for thinking about me. Not long after he left, Mr. Wang, who had contacted Song Tao, came. Master Zhou. Sit down, how about it? The affairs of the Song family have been arranged. The Minister of Household Affairs of Heji's old faction has a brother who is the magistrate of Chu County and has contacted them. The things given by Song Tao and Yang Xiangdong have been copied to them. I replied saying yes, and it has been arranged, and it will be done at the beginning of the new year. Okay, it finally got off to a good start. It started over there. I'll go find Mr. Heji again. After all, Song Shang has a title and has made a lot of connections. It's not as easy as before. If it doesn't work, King Wu Kinsui will have to come forward, but, no, don't take this step unless you have to. He didn't say anything. I opened the wound and attracted the wolves. What did I want? My lord thinks long-term and meticulously. Li Kun snickered secretly. After suffering that loss, I still don't have a long memory. The grandson came back with the prince and settled him in. Someone quietly told the crown princess about the meeting with Dong James. I don't know exactly what was said, but Dong James gave the crown princess a box. Things are brought from outside. Taejun came back tiredly and saw Pingting looking very good. She was roasting sweet potatoes on the charcoal stove, and there was a warm aroma in the room. Your Highness is back. Well, how are you today? It's good. Are you tired? Yeah, I've been up all night in the past few days. I didn't dare to disturb my father. I had to let him sleep before I started. Just now, I accompanied my father into the palace. Come back, I heard that the concubine was in the front study, and Dong James brought a box to her. She immediately went back to the room to look at it, and it was brightly lit. Zhang Pingting asked, maybe I am doing what you are doing. The box was brought in. You are right. James Dong is making plans for his mother and concubine. Let's see if there is anyone outside him, Zhang Pingting said in annoyance. I watched for 2 days before and found nothing. Now the manpower is too tight. Qi Wu is watching the King of Wu. Recently, he has mobilized a large number of silver coins and personnel. I don't know what he is doing. I'm afraid I know that the Emperor asked for the Imperial Doctor in the middle of the night. Maybe, if we face each other now, we have little chance of winning. He. The Emperor has not caused trouble these days because both King Wu and King An have done well. The three parties are working together. I don't know who to suppress. His face serve coldly. Just pretend you don't know, do the things at hand well and leave some mistakes for him to catch. Just push forward. Actually, recently, there have been several more helpers, and they are still very useful. Mr. Wen's brain, whenever he said it, the numbers came out immediately. It's hard not to accept it. Thanks to him for the salt tax. What if he makes the Emperor so angry that there is nothing he can do? The two of us talked about business matters and family matters, and had a good time. When you wandered around the store and was about to take Wen Shizu with him to the Song family to see his new cousin-in-law. When Hu Fei heard this, he immediately put down what he was doing and followed. The room was warm, and Mrs. Song was watching Yao Ruotong making red date tea for her. Today, Song Shihan was also there, not as straight-faced as before, but looking seriously at Yao Ruotong's work. Mrs. Song smiled when she saw Wen Yu and Zuzu coming in. You guys came just in time. The tea made by Ruotong is about to be cooked. Song Shihan looked disgusted when he saw them. Wen Yu knew that Song Shihan didn't like her getting close to Mrs. Song, but he deliberately went up and hugged Mrs. Song. "Oh, we just came here because of the fragrance. My cousin is so capable. According to my aunt Ruotong, this is called intimacy." Yao Ruotong smiled and said, "My mother-in-law didn't see Au smiling so happily. Of course, who can be unhappy when two beauties are here, isn't that right, Xiao Han Han?" Song Shihan had been pretending for a long time just now, but now his temper showed again. He stared at Wen Yu coldly and pursed his lips. "Oh, Han Han is still unhappy. Your aunt Zuzu has brought you something. Yuan and Bao both like it very much." Zuzu was the favorite among the children. She handed over the stuffed cat and panda in her hand. "Han Han, Mr. Mo's teacher went to Shu in the early years and saw the panda. He drew it. We made it, that's it. Look. We don't have it here. It only eats bamboo." Hand over a little stuffed animal with a black and white pattern and dark circles under its eyes. Mrs. Song told them, among the books collected by the Song family, there is a picture album dedicated to drawings of strange beasts from various places. I have actually seen this cat and bear. It's so funny. Hey, Han Han, come on. She saw Zuzu handing it over, but Song Shihan didn't pick it up. As a result, Song Shihan said coldly, "Grandma, how can Shihan accept other people's things at will? Didn't you say that I have it in the picture album in the Song family's study? If you like it, I will make it later," she said contemptuously. He turned around and left. When she got to the door, she stood still, waiting for the girl to lift the cotton curtain for her. Mrs. Song quickly said, "Han Bao, don't leave. The tea has just come out of the pot." As a result, Song Shihan didn't say a word. The curtain was opened, and she left without looking back. Mrs. Song was a little embarrassed and quickly explained, "The little girl is too stubborn, don't mind Zuzu. Come and see." Zuzu didn't take it seriously and handed it to Mrs. Song. Mrs. Song looked at it and felt happy. Looking back, I really asked someone to bring the picture album. There are many things in it, and there is also a strange one with a big long nose. Great. Just do it. A few people were chatting and laughing, and were very happy. Song Shihan listened from a distance. His hatred was like the cold wind that never stopped blowing. Thank you for the tips, votes, and comments from Xiaobao. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 337. Chapter 337. Relatives are coming. Wei Xianjiao's eldest brother Wei Ziquan was really stunned when he heard the news of his sister's death. Originally, he thought Yang Xiangdong had a calm temperament and ruthless methods. "My own sister is not easy to get along with, but no matter what, the two of them can still achieve a good result." Unexpectedly, the girl died in such a tragic way. Yang Xiangdong only told him this fact. But there is no explanation or response at all. This idiot, what did he do? So, he quickly asked his wife to pack her things. "I have to go to Beijing quickly to see what happened." His wife ordered people to clean it up for him, and said, "My sister still has a lot of money and objects in her hands. When she left, we blackmailed it from Songshang, and she had to go back to the capital. The yard is also quite neat." I know. At that time, seeing that Yang Xiangdong had face, I didn't care much about her. To say that Wei Ziquan received the news, he was still a little shocked and disappointed. His wife, however, couldn't hide her happy smile. Also, when she was in the Song family, she also saved a lot of money. I know that it is stored in Shenzhen Gold Bank. I will go to find out right away. You can get it locally. The Yaman got the certificate of her death and needed it when they went to the bank to redeem it. In addition, let's not mention her jewelry, just the clothes. There are more than one piece of leather worth tens of thousands taels. These are incredible. After saying that, she became anxious again. Wei Jinhan held a funeral for her in the capital and took a chance. I don't know how much he swallowed. You can't let him go in vain. Find a witness from her maid first. If it doesn't work, just fight or sue the authorities. We all split up. If Wei Xianjiu dies, everything belongs to us. Okay, okay, I get it. So he hurried to the capital and first went to Wei Xianjiu's small courtyard. Sure enough, his cousin occupied the courtyard. When he entered the house, he looked very unhappy. He walked around the house and found that it was really clean. None of his valuables were gone. He sat there with a bang and said with full force, "Where's the money? Where's the stuff? Tell me." Song Shihan was informed of the news of his uncle's arrival. Song Shihan took the girl and mother-in-law and accompanied by Song Tao to the small courtyard. Wei Ziquan looked at Song Shihan, who was dressed in plain clothes and pretending to be in the show, and his eye circles turned red. Song Tao chuckled secretly and said from the side, "Song Tao is going to put some incense sticks on the late sister-in-law. You talk to Chihan first." He walked out. Wei Ziquan, thinking of what he said to his mysterious person yesterday, forced a sad smile to Song Shihan and said in a deep voice, "Han Han, uncle is here." He felt that he was quite sensational, but Song Shihan was unmoved and looked at him coldly. "This little girl's movie. You are my only niece, think carefully about whether you should go home with your uncle or continue to live in the Song family." Song Shihan was a little stunned. She thought that this uncle was just here to rob her mother's property. Isn't that what cousin is? Auntie only cares about money. My mother used to talk about it a lot. So, when she came, she was not nice to Wei Ziquan. Hearing this, he wanted to take him away. "You want to take me away?" His dark eyes widened. "Your stepmother has already entered the house. There is no good stepmother in this world. You are too young to take care of yourself. If you stay alone in the Song family, your mother's spirit in heaven will not be at ease." Song Shihan's eyes turned red when he heard this. Wei Ziquan still said, "We are too far away, and my uncle won't know what happens to you. So, I hope you will follow. Although the Wei family is not as wealthy as the Song family, it is your mother's natal family after all. No one will plot against you, restrain you." As he spoke, he looked at the little girl's face. Actually, the original official of the Wei family did a good job, otherwise he would have strangled Song Shang to marry his sister. It's just that in recent years, he has been relatively unlucky and his tenure has not been smooth. Several pitfalls were stepped on, and Song Shang was extorted from so much money, and all he had to do was fill it. He didn't know, how could Song Shang hope that the Wei family would rise? He also has some hidden traps. The big one is inconvenient to move, but the small one is easy to operate. Therefore, the Wei family has been ups and downs, going in circles. Song Shihan was suddenly moved. After all, he was his mother's brother. Although his aunt was short-sighted, his uncle was still a good person. "I won't leave. This is my home, why should I leave?" she suddenly said excitedly, tears streaming down one by one. Wei Ziquan looked surprised, but nodded and said happily, "Well done. For you to be able to say this at such a young age, my uncle is surprised and relieved. It seems that you are smarter and stronger than your mother." How many points? He took out his cotton handkerchief and handed it over. Song Shihan didn't take it, but took out his own, the best quality brocade, thick and heavy, extremely white, you can smell the fragrance as soon as you unfold it. Uncle Wei cursed in his heart and silently took back the veil he had used twice. "But, the separation of your parents will have a big impact on you. If your mother is still here, although she can't live together. But, even if you are slightly wronged, she can come to the door. The Song family has scruples, so they don't dare to how about you. But now, she's gone, I'm afraid you won't be able to cope with it and you'll suffer a big loss." Song Shihan said bitterly, "It's nothing, now, I'm like an orphan, What else am I afraid of? The worst case, I'll give them a life for a life. Wei Ziquan was shocked. Look at you at such a young age, what are you talking about? That's right, Song Shihan's face was full of arrogance. Do you have the strength? Does anyone have money? Is there any way? Wei Ziquan asked her, but something moved in his heart. Yesterday the mysterious man came to him and said that someone was dealing with the Song family. At first I was quite happy to hear it and agreed to help if I had the chance. But now think about it, what good will it do to me after they deal with the Song family? No one can swallow it, but it's not their turn. Moreover, the crime was so great that this little girl couldn't even run away, and she might even end up eating melon too. But what if Song Shang would die now? The orphans and widowers behind him, I hold Song Shihan in my hand, the Song family. He showed a meaningful smile. Girl Song Shihan, although she claims to be extremely smart, how can she see this? He also said bitterly, I can't beat them, but I can drug that woman so that she can't give birth to a child. Wei Ziquan was really surprised, this girl's strength is not bad. But he shook his head slightly and said, what's the use? Wouldn't your father marry again? Wouldn't he take concubines? If his uncle hadn't suppressed him for so many years, he would have had many children. Actually, he can't understand this now. He didn't think the Wei family could really capture Song Shang. The girl can't really confuse him, no, it really won't work. But if this is the case, all 10 of his 8 sons should have come out, weird. Then, is there any medicine that can prevent even my father from giving birth? Song Shihan thought for a while and asked. Wei Ziquan was filled with joy and smiled bitterly, little girl, if there is one, can you do it? Why not? Song Shihan's eyes shone, he drove my mother away, killed her, and then immediately married another man. He only wanted to have a son. Does he take me seriously? He is sorry for me, why should I? You can't harm him. Uncle knows that you are angry, and your hatred is justified. But, how can a person like your father be harmed so easily? He is what he is today, smart, cautious, bold, and ruthless. No one can quite a bit. What can you do as a little girl? What can I do? I can make him not be wary. Song Shihan figured it out and became excited. Yes, that's it. He never thought that I would do anything to him. The tears were not dry, and a smile appeared on her little face. At that time, he will only have my daughter. No matter how busy and hard he works, no matter how high the title is, no matter how much money he earns, it will be mine alone. His little face was red, thinking about the bright future. Confident and determined. Uncle Wei looked at her and shook his head in disbelief. I didn't expect that you have such a character. It seems that you have absorbed the advantages of your parents. I have to admire you. Uncle Song Shihan truly called out. Ever since I thought that this uncle was not for my mother's property, but for caring about her, I regarded him as my elder, no, as my helper. Can you help me? Help me find medicine, help me find a way. After Song Shihan asked, he persuaded him, don't look at my grandmother who loves me so much now. Then she doesn't have a grandson yet. When she has a grandson, I'm afraid she will forget who it is. My father is busy outside every day and rarely comes home. He seems gentle to me, but I don't feel his love. Now, the stepmother has entered the door, as you said, how can there be a good stepmother in the world? Moreover, I have offended her a long time ago. So, how can I live my life? Wei Ziquan hesitated. Song Shihan said anxiously, if I really want to leave with you, I'm afraid, they are still eager to be happy. But what do I want? Just like my mother, it is easy to go out, but it is difficult to come back. Why? Song Shihan, this home is mine. She whimpered, I won't leave. I know they don't like me, so I'll discuss them here. Okay, Little girl, don't get excited. My uncle will be here to celebrate the new year anyway. This is no small matter. Uncle, think about it, and you should think about it again. No matter what, I am your dearest person now, you whatever you want to do, as long as you think about it, my uncle will definitely help you make it happen. Okay, let's make it a deal. You are my uncle, I'm good, and you can't be any worse. Song Shihan actually didn't forget the many benefits. Uncle Wei grinned, why do I feel that this girl is not so easy to control? However, there are many examples of newborn calves doing great things. A little girl like her, a eldest lady, has people respecting her, but no one is guarding her. As long as things are done, I can't do anything with her as a little girl. Throughout the month of March, I made more than 5,000 updates every day, and there was no reward at all on the platform. Discouraged. I want to update it every day from now on, dear friends, how about that? The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 338. Chapter 338 Each uses it. Song Shihan's uncle is here. Song Shang got the news and was depressed all night. The next day, when Wenyu came to the store, he called Wenyu over to talk. It's normal for him to come here, my sister is dead, so we have to take care of the funeral arrangements. Wenyu disagreed. Wei Shi is very rich, and even her clothes and jewelry are worth a lot of money. The relatives in the capital who organized the funeral for her benefited from it. How can he, the eldest brother, lag behind? Yang Xiangdong didn't get involved, did he? He never showed up again. Well, it's a clean break. This person knows practical things, Wenyu affirmed. Song Shang still looked like he had been constipated for several days. Then why are you looking so depressed, when you still knew how to look at Song Shang? Song Shang answered lazily, he came. First, he had a quarrel with his cousin because of Wei Xianjiu's property. Then, he accepted the post and went out. When he entered a small courtyard in the West City, what did he see? People don't know. It was much quieter when I came back. Then yesterday, Song Shihan went to see him. He shook his head, Wenyu. To be honest, if you hadn't started it, I really wouldn't have known that this was the case around me. I thought I had everything under control. What's wrong, Wenyu asked. Song Shihan has gone, and Wei Ziquan acted like a real uncle. He said he would take her back to his hometown. Song Shihan. Song Shang sighed, I can't describe my mood at this moment. What's wrong? Wenyu became even more curious. She first told Wei Ziquan that she would give her stepmother medicine to prevent her from giving birth to children. Then Wei Ziquan said that I could marry another person or take a concubine, and I would still have a son then, she actually said. Song Shang was stunned again. She said. What did you say? Why are you hesitant? Wenyu was anxious. She said she would give me medicine to make me unable to have children. She would only have one daughter for the rest of my life. Wenyu was stunned for a moment, then looked up to the sky and laughed. What are you laughing at? Song Shang was a little angry. It wouldn't be a good thing for anyone to suffer from being tricked into having a baby by your own daughter, right? Oh. Wenyu laughed for a while and wiped her tears. Is she crazy? What happened next? Wei Ziquan said that her hatred was justified, but she was small and powerful and could not do it. As a result, she said, she is respected by others in the Song family and has no one to guard against. As long as she takes action, she will definitely succeed. Only then did Wenyu think about it seriously. Don't tell me, if she wants to do something, she may not have a chance. At least, Aunt has no protection against her. You have no protection in Aunt's house. If she follows start here, how can you think of it? Cousin. If I were Wei Ziquan, why wouldn't I let you have a child? Wouldn't it be better to kill you directly? By then, the Song family will have Aunt and Song Shihan. There is Wei Hequan outside, he can control the Song family just as he should be inside and outside. Although it's impossible to it all away, but even if you can get a piece of it, this uncle will be quite satisfied. Song Shang smiled, it seems that this wealth really can't be too much. Yes, your little wealth has attracted the covetousness of so many people, but what about this world? Pingting is very capable of supporting the family, and she is still cautious now. But what she can do, in the end limited. It depends on the thoughts of the person above. Song Shang shook his head after thinking about it. Oh, if that seat is really obtained, other problems will arise. Look at the past dynasties, how can anyone live long? Oh, Song Shihan was accompanied by Song Tao. Then Song Tao and Wei Hequan are conspiring together. Not yet after all, their interests conflict. Don't say that yet, Song Tao may not want your life. I know, but he can't help it. Even if he instigates Song Shihan, he doesn't dare to make a big move. Song Shihan is just a small step in his chess piece. She has been maintained and used at critical moments. She is really treated as a piece of material. When you disagreed, you still look down on her now. Song Shang was so angry that he burped after thinking about it. When you laughed again, really? She wants you to be her queen. Tisk tisk, when I was her age, in Song Jiazhuang, I only played in the mud and went into the pond to touch small fish every day. I'm so stupid. Song Shang didn't know who to scold. Give me back the bamboo salt. When you raised her eyes. Ayu, come quickly. Come on, I won't tell you any more. Zuzu and I went to Wen's house to look at her yard. Today, she is going back to Wen's house to live. Sure enough, when Song Shihan told MRS Song that he was going to his uncle's house today, MRS Song was a little reluctant. From the bottom of her heart, she didn't want her granddaughter to get close to the Wei family. Han Bauer, you are too young to go out by yourself. If grandma doesn't go, you can't always bother uncle. Song Tao was beside him and said with a smile, Auntie. It seems that this uncle from the Wei family is quite sensible. He is very good to Chi Han. After coming back from him, the little girl is in a much better mood. After the new year, he will also. If you want to go back, can you let Chi Han go over and talk? MRS Song looked at Song Shihan. Really, she wasn't even bothered by the fact that she wasn't allowed to go at this moment. She was just watching eagerly. Okay, go and have a look, come back early. Yes. Song Tao accompanied Song Shihan into the car. He felt that Wei Hequan must have said something to Song Shihan because she had changed. For the sake of cliché, he didn't even ride a horse. Uncle has almost taken care of the things at hand. Whenever you want to go, ask uncle to accompany you. In the car behind, there are some New Year's goods. Your uncle came in a hurry. In the past 2 days, the shops have been slowly closed. It will be inconvenient for them to eat and drink. Song Shihan really didn't expect this. Thank you so much, uncle. You are so considerate. It's nothing. When your mother was in the Song family, we got along well. For your sake, these are just a piece of cake. Song Shihan said, when my father came back last night, he must have known that my uncle was coming. He didn't even ask a question. I don't know how my mother and the Wei family offended him. I don't know how they got to this point. Presumably, the lack of sons is one of the reasons. The fifth brother doesn't want a son from a concubine. Song Tao is a concubine, and there are strong emotions in his eyes. No one knows as well as him how difficult it is to become a commoner. For so many years, if he hadn't been holding Song Shang tightly, he wouldn't be where he is now. Actually, this is understandable. After all, your father has married a wife, there is a new uncle. If you continue to mess with the previous one, your new mother. She is not my mother, Song Shihan said, she is not amazing in talent and appearance, so why should she be my mother? Okay, little girl, if you think you've grown up, don't get so excited. When Song Shihan heard this, he nodded immediately, you are right. Song Tao calmly made up his words again. Song Shihan probably had something on his mind and didn't answer his question. Back at the Wei family, Wei Ziquan sincerely thanked Song Tao for what he had brought, and then said to him, Han Han and I still have something to say, why don't you go drink tea and play chess with my cousin? He actually asked Song Tao to leave. Song Tao responded with a smile, but he hated it in his heart. He was even more sure that this was planning to take advantage of Song Shihan. But what can we use her for? Taking leave tomorrow. I made an appointment with a friend for lunch, it was quite far away. Go early and have a chat. Happy holidays everyone. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart. Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 339. Chapter 339 Year-End Accounts. The Chinese New Year is coming soon. Xiaolu has completed all the work for this year and will no longer accept new ones. We will only open after the Chinese New Year. Business is booming and we have stable customers. Except for Master Qing's accident, everything else is fine. Wen Yu has given out a thick red seal, and these embroiderers can celebrate the new year happily. The embroidery shop has not closed yet, with only 2 shop assistants left. Customers who need gifts during the new year will come to buy fabrics and accessories. The embroiderers living nearby have all gone home. Those brought out from Zhangzhou were basically homeless and still lived in Wen Yu's yard. I finally got the free time to clean, cut window grills, take a bath, do laundry, and prepare New Year's dinner. After being together for a long time, we have become relatives. With experience gained this year, Yubai took advantage of the lack of work to write a lot of couplets and even drew the God of Wealth. When brought to the store, some are given to old customers, and some are sold at the entrance of the store. Li Yuan is an expert at this job. This young boy who is neatly dressed, has 2 dimples in his smile, and has white teeth and red lips has made Wen Yu a fortune. The restaurant was still a bustling place, there were even many singers coming in and out, and the strings and strings of silk and bamboo were playing non-stop. Before the end of the year, many people with whom I have connections come here to treat me. Wen Yu calculated the accounts with the accountant, and she decided to pay rent to her mother-in-law. MRSG didn't want it, so the 2 fought for a long time, and finally received a very favorable amount. After settling the accounts, Wen Yu saw the amount of silver on it. Thinking of the banknotes in my hand and the money in my family's treasury, I was deeply satisfied. Just the initial decoration of the shop and the purchase of items cost a lot of money, which also paid for the rent, so the investment could not be fully recovered. However, it has exceeded expectations. If you have a lot of money in your hand, you should consider dividing the account with Songshang. In the early stage, a lot of money came from Songshang, although the accounts were kept clearly. But how to calculate these silver? Loan or invest? If calculated as a loan, he would not have any shares, so he would have been busy working in the store. Especially the restaurant, I never took care of it from beginning to end. But it's about buying shares. Neither of them has talked about shares, how can they divide it appropriately? Wen Yu thought about the plan for a long time. His head hurt and he didn't know what to do, so he had to go to Songshang to discuss it. But Songshang has a lot of things going on at the end of the year, and Song Shihan's mood has been messed up recently. He didn't want to talk to her about this at all. When he heard this, he waved his hand and said, "Don't count this piece for now. You can use the money." Wen Yu felt happy when he heard it. Who would be willing to spit out the money he got? It's just, cousin, why are you so embarrassed? My cousin is in charge of the restaurant. Now, I have so much money in hand, and I don't give you some, so, it's not appropriate. Her expression was like, if you insist a little longer, I will listen to you. Seeing her stingy look, Song Shang laughed angrily. I sent people to work in the restaurant, and the store also paid them wages. At the end of the year, Mrs. Ji Woo, you also gave me a red envelope. Everyone was very satisfied. That's enough. As for me, you don't have to worry about it. Besides, I don't have any shares in the inn, but through you, I have a lot of regular guests. This is inherently mutual. This little money and things are nothing in my eyes. I've been in a state of confusion recently, so please don't disturb me. After the new year, see if there is any good business left, and do whatever you want to do. When you was no longer humble, well, since Uncle Song is rich and doesn't like these things, I'll keep them first. I don't want to leave them with you, and they will all be plotted by others. Take them in my hand, always you have a room and a bowl of food. When you, Song Shang was anxious and yelled at her. Ayu, let's go, this is Wench's cry. When you went out with a smile. Zuzu was waiting at the stairs, and they went downstairs together. Outside the door, Hu Fei and Chi Wu were standing next to the carriage, talking. Zuzu has moved into Wen's house, and today she is taking Wen Yu to see her house. When we arrived at Wen's house, there was no wife in charge, so we didn't need to be polite to anyone. The group went directly to Zuzu's yard. The yard is very big. The ones on the left side of the corner look like pomegranate trees, the ones on the right side look like plum blossoms, very elegant. Up 3 steps is the living room, which is bright and tall, almost bigger than Wen Yu's living room in the Chi family. There are narcissus on the windowsill and orchids on the shelf. As soon as you enter the door, the fragrance is overwhelming. It is estimated that Mr. Wen has rummaged through his family's warehouse several times. Anything suitable for girls is on display. The hall is full. Zuzu watched with Wen Yu and whispered, "Daddy asked me to meet friends here when I have nothing to do. In fact, how can I have nothing to do? Besides," she blushed, "next year 5U is getting married. I really can't live here for long. This is something that makes Mr. Wen very unhappy." Ayu, look, he even made a small kitchen. Zuzu took Wen Yu to the next room again. The pots and stoves are complete and the basins and bowls are exquisite. Even the cabinet where the condiments are kept is divided into small grids. It seems that all the food is prepared for her. Look at these pots, boards, and cages, everything is exquisite. Zuzu couldn't put it down. Is it fun? Come and see the bedroom again. The large bedroom, with the most expensive bed tent in Yongxiang hanging on the carved bed. It can be seen that the Wen family really uses beads as palm beads. Zuzu, your yard is so nice, your grandfather and father really love you. When you looked at Wen Shizu and felt really excited. The two of us have finally made it to today. Yes, Wen Shizu smiled sweetly. Back in the living room, Hu Fei and Chi Wu were sitting drinking tea. When you said to Chi Wu, Master Wen has really put a lot of thought into his daughter. It is so complete. This yard is also very good. In a few days, the plum blossoms will bloom, and it will be even more beautiful. Hu Fei said calmly, I bought a garden under the name of Zuzu in Haoerhehuahutong. It will be tidied up in the spring. However, it will take 2 or 3 years to take shape. Zuzu, I specially invited him. Mr. Huang Shaoshan came to make the layout. I will take you to see what you want, just mention it. Wen Yu was convinced after hearing this. After all, the Hu family is very wealthy. Buying a garden is that easy. Mr. Wen, who had just arrived home and knew that Wen Yu was a guest, heard this when he walked to the door. He was really happy and heartbroken. Hu Fei, who was happy, treated his daughter well. Although he said it casually, he still needed more than 200,000 taels of silver. What worries me is, the boudoir that I have put so much effort into building for my daughter. Originally, the baby could only live in it for a long time, but it was immediately outdone by this white-haired girl. It's great to have money. They were so angry that they didn't even come in, so they turned around and complained to Mr. Wen. After returning home, Wen Yu showed the money in his account to Chi Wu. "Look, how much money do I have?" Yet Chi Wu looked at his wife softly, feeling that she was lively and cunning, like a little fox. "You are beautiful, and you have money. By marrying you, I am a fool and I am a fool," he joked in a rare way. "Why is your mouth so sweet today?" Wen said strangely. Chi Wu said, "You haven't seen the boxes in the West Wing, have you? They are some of my former private rooms. If you have time, take a look." When Yu understood that it was his mother-in-law who gave him the things she wanted back. Thinking about those things passing through Qin Lianyu's hands, she felt uncomfortable. "No," she pointed to the amount in the account, "I have plenty of money. Give those of yours to your great-grandson." Chi Wu thought for a while and nodded. Then, "You won't be angry about this anymore, will you?" "No," Wen Yu agreed, but in his heart he was thinking, "I will ask my mother-in-law again if she wants enough. If it's not enough, you have to find fault to get angry." This embarrassing matter finally came to an end. Chi Wu was so happy that he took Wen Yu's little hand and caressed her face. "How lucky I am to have such a beautiful wife. Candlelight is shining, two people are about to have a deep love." But at this moment, there was a whistle outside. Chi Wu's expression changed. "Ayu, you are in the house, don't come out. I'll go take a look." He dressed up a little and walked out of the room. "This night, I never came back. The Duke's wife is beautiful but has a dark heart." Author, see the peach fish again. Chapter 340. Chapter 340. Something happened to the prince. Wen Yu didn't know why he went out suddenly, but she was still waiting for him to come back. "Keep going. It's already this time and you've been waiting and waiting for no one in sight. What are you doing? Pull the quilt over me." I don't know how long it took, and I fell asleep in a daze. At this moment, the East Palace was dark. It turned out that Li Qiwan sent the prince back to his bedroom the night before, and then returned to the concubine. After a tiring day, I went to take a hot bath first, and then the two of them sat and talked. Suddenly, the beside the prince came rolling up and reported, "His Royal Highness is sick." "How could it be? Didn't you just feel fine?" Li Qiwan was shocked and rushed over without even having time to put on his clothes. The prince's bedroom was very bright with lamps and candles lit. The crown princess was afraid of disturbing the prince's rest, so she no longer lived with him. She also just came over after hearing the news, and sat on the edge of the bed with a worried look on her face. The prince smiled softly when he saw his son running in a panic. "Why are you so flustered?" "I have nothing to do." His voice was soft and weak. The grandson rubbed his hands first, and then touched the prince's forehead. "Do you have a low-grade fever? Are you cold?" "Concubine, is the imperial doctor here?" The crown princess had sweat on her head and said in a low voice, "I just asked someone to call me." Dr. Zhang took a look and said that he can't see anything yet, maybe the food is not to his liking. "What do you feel bad about?" Li Qiwan looked at the prince deeply and asked softly. The prince said honestly, "I feel dizzy and weak. I had diarrhea several times, vomited." As soon as he finished speaking, he was about to vomit as soon as he raised his body. Li Qiwan had experience. He couldn't vomit while lying down, he skillfully helped him up and turned him slightly sideways. The princess took the copper basin and took it. The prince has been eating very little to begin with. He had diarrhea and vomiting just now. How can he vomit anything now? The yellow and black soup has a pungent taste that is both sour and bitter. Just 2 vomits exhausted the prince's energy. He fell softly, breathing hard. "Father! Taejun put him down and quickly picked up the handkerchief next to him and wiped his mouth. He took the warm water from the and said, "My mouth feels bitter. Can you rinse it out?" Although he was anxious and scared, he still spoke in a calm tone. The prince shook his head gently, maybe it was because he was too exhausted. He closed his eyes and fell asleep in a daze. Lee Ki-won and the crown princess exited. He stared at the beside the crown prince and asked, "What did your father eat?" The was frightened to death. He knelt down and replied, "The prince eats the same food as before every day. Even the water he drinks is boiled a few times before it is given to his highness." "Say the same thing." Taejun's eyes seemed to want to eat people. "I had dinner with you. I used more than half a bowl of vegetable and egg porridge. I just drank the medicine in the house, and then I had more than half a bowl of tremella and wolfberry soup, with only a piece of ginseng in it. There is also half a bowl of warm water, every day. It's all the same." The crown princess said softly, "Huonor, don't be anxious. My mother and concubine also followed these in person." She put the white fungus soup on the steamer and steamed it for enough time before bringing it to your father. "How could this happen?" Taejun said anxiously. "Why hasn't the imperial doctor come yet? Your father may be a little tired recently." "Don't worry, wait." There were hurried steps outside the house, and the imperial doctor came in sweating. Before he even had time to salute, he was pulled in by the grandson. The princess followed closely behind. Shui Ying was also in the outer hall, but the grandson ignored her at all. Taejun left in such a hurry that Pingting couldn't keep up, and she arrived at this moment. Her hair was simply pulled back, and her whole body was wrapped in a large cloak. I looked in the outer hall and found it difficult to enter the inner room. I found a corner and sat down. Although Shui Ying did not wear any jewelry, she was still dressed neatly. She knew that her grandson had gone to the bitch's house again today, and he looked at her sinisterly. Then, with a contemptuous curl of his lips, he raised his head and entered the back room. But a little while later, he came out with a smug look on his face, and gouged Pingting even more viciously. Zhang Pingting lowered her eyelids, feeling extremely uneasy about the current situation. Inside, the imperial doctor looked at it for a long time. "Your Highness, Dr. Zhang is right. At present, His Royal Highness's main veins are not much different from those before. The prince's frailty may be related to recent fatigue or weather changes. If not, let His Highness sleep for a while, and when he wakes up, I will make some noodle soup, add a little bit of sugar and salt, and feed it in small amounts to give His Highness some strength." Taejun had no choice but to nod. Outside, Shui Ying saw the concubine sitting peacefully, and finally couldn't restrain the resentment in her heart, and walked to her. "My father has been doing well in recent days. Why is it that you are pregnant and he is sick? I can't explain it. I can't help but be overcome by the evil in your belly." Hearing her vicious words about the child in her belly, Zhang Pingting became angry. But, she had to endure it. "No matter what, we can't make trouble here." "So, I pretended not to hear. Didn't you hear what I said? When you see me, you don't even show your courtesy. What's wrong with you? Is there a place for you to stay here? Get out." Shui Ying also restrained herself and did not dare to speak loudly. But the eunuchs and maids in the room can also hear. Especially, the few people who just came out of the back room also heard it. The crown princess's temper suddenly went to her head. "This idiot, what kind of occasion is this?" Sure enough, Lee Ki-won pointed at Shui Ying and ordered the maid next to him, "Take her back. If she dares to talk too much, she will be gagged and tied up." There was a look of viciousness on his face. Shui Ying did not expect that they would hear her words, and she blushed in embarrassment. The crown princess also had a look of boredom on her face. "Knowing that I was rude, I didn't dare to say anything more, so I turned around and ran away." The crown princess glanced coldly at the concubine and ordered her confidant, "Cook some noodle soup." The prince slept for a while and moved around, and the imperial doctor quickly gave him an injection. Taejun personally fed the cooked noodle soup. After a few spoonfuls, he couldn't feed it anymore. I also cooked the medicine that the prince usually took, but only fed him half a bowl. He stayed up all night like this. At dawn, the prince still didn't feel better, but he didn't have a fever either. The crown princess came out and ordered Pingting to go back and rest. She also went back to her room, washed her face, combed her hair, and changed her clothes. Then he came over and said to his grandson, "Go back and wash your face. My mother and concubine will keep an eye on you." Lee Ki-wan shook his head, "Nothing, my son is here to accompany his father." The prince fell into a deep sleep, sometimes frowning, sometimes moving his head slightly. It looked like he was in great pain, but he didn't say anything. The crown princess said, "Huan-er, go and eat something." Lee Ki-wan still shook his head, "You go first, I'll wait." The princess went out. After a while, she came back and said, "I brought some food from the outer room. Go and have a few bites. Don't make yourself exhausted. I've already sent someone to tell the palace." The grandson nodded and did not move. In this way, the prince endured the whole day hopelessly and anxiously. In the evening, the prince may have felt uncomfortable again and struggled to turn over. The grandson and the doctor helped him gently. Suddenly, the medicine and noodle soup he had just taken spurted out, but after only one squirt, he ran out of energy. He couldn't spit it out or swallow it. He was holding it there all of a sudden. His whole body was shaking like a spasm, and his face was shaking. It turns red, turns purple, and then turns gray. "Dad! Dad! Just hold on." Lee Ki-wan said with a crying tone, "Dad, father, my son is here. Just hold on." He held the prince's hand. As soon as the crown princess sat outside to rest for a while, she heard such a cry. She was startled and hurried in. As soon as she saw the prince's appearance, she opened her eyes wide and exclaimed, "How could this happen?" The imperial doctor was standing next to him. He pressed a few acupuncture points without hesitation. Then he tore open the prince's clothes and used his hand to lift the needle. After a while, he pricked the prince densely. His shaking slowly stopped and his expression softened slightly. Lying unconscious and quietly, if it weren't for the faint ups and downs in his heart, he would be dead. How could it be like this? The crown princess yelled in her heart. The concubine quietly walked to the door of the outer room and saw the appearance of the crown princess, sad and anxious. "But, more than anything, I can't believe it. Did she not expect this result?" Feeling more and more uneasy, he turned around and told the people around him, "Go and call Chi Wu and ask him to come in quietly."